Sue Bradley, who is one of my dearest friends and probably one of the greatest minds ever to grace this country. Again, she was the research assistant for Admiral Thomas More. How she and I hooked up is a fascinating story. When Admiral Thomas More was the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he said to her, he said, you need to listen to Steve Quayle. And I think this is on my website someplace because she wrote a letter to this effect, because he's the only one telling people the war that's coming, both in the natural and the supernatural. I never got to meet him. He was a brother in the Lord. Obviously, I'll meet him in glory. But why I'm saying that is Sue wrote a fabulous treatise on, if you will, essay, but it's more than an essay. I would say this research paper / treatise / essay on Anak, the son of Krakatoa. There are two volcanoes in history that everybody has got to focus on that are relevant in the last 200 years to your life. Everybody's worried about Yellowstone, the supervolcano. Again, I can tell you this, that's the least of your worries at this point. Some people say that's an arrogant statement. I say, well, look, I fly with the people who fly all the different seismic stuff there. I talk to people who talk to me off the record that absolutely know what's going there. And for the record, the richest people in the world, there's nobody richer than the people that live within 35 miles, air miles, of the caldera, maybe 50 air miles max, live in the Yellowstone Club. So, you know, the thing that troubles me, Doug, is that people can't put two and two together anymore, okay? It must be that modern math. The point is, 1815, Tambora went off in the South Pacific, putting so much volcanic ash in the upper atmosphere that literally the mean temperature of the Earth went cool. I think it was in, 1883 that Krakatoa went off. And Krakatoa is spelled Krakatoa and not Krakatoa in the dark, okay? I don't know about anybody else, but I have a collision avoidance system that I got to use in my bedroom because I'm always running into something. But the point is that we're talking about the amount of ash, volcanic ash, going into the upper atmosphere. We're talking about, in conjunction with that, for the first time in history, and if someone will do this, who will go on Volcano World, or just type in active volcanoes and look at how many have gone active in the last, since January. Some of them are smoldering. Kilauea, which I've flown over so many times over the years. Actually, I wish I were there right now. I'm serious. Can't get over there because of other commitments. But the point is that we're seeing volcanoes 3 and 5 a day going active. Popo in Mexico City went active the other day and threw so much ash that it covered Mexico City, one of the most densely populated cities in the world. Whether you go to the Kamchatka Peninsula with Kaloyshevskoye and forgive me to those of you who speak Russian, I do not know how to pronounce that. I heard somebody kind of run it together like Kaloyshevskoye or something like that. Well, that isn't going to work with me because, I can't do that very well. But the point is that never. When I started, Doug, on talk radio, there was maybe 2 or 3 major volcanoes a year that would get any notoriety or any mention, okay? Sure, there were burps, there were earthquakes, there were some sputters, and maybe some fumes going, but never the amount of volcanoes going off with some of the plumes actually going 45, 50, 60,000 feet in the air. Now, what most people don't understand, that's pumice. And then, obviously, there are different silicons in that. There's all types of different mineralization. Sure, there's the standard stuff. There's different types of volcanoes that are going off around the planet. The key is, though, that now the earthquake that just took place the other day in and around Tambora, I said, this is the one that worries me. It doesn't worry me sitting on the rim of the Yellowstone volcano. Supervolcano. It absolutely terrifies me what's going on in the South Pacific. Karachi earthquake. Stan Dale and I were on, and Stan was mentioning one of the islands down off the coast of New Zealand that goes directly, it has a plume that goes down into the mantle, and I forget the name of it. Maybe it's White Island. Forgive me, I just can't recall it right now. And his sea surface temperature anomaly work is phenomenal, and it was so good that the powers that be, FINMOC, which was the federal, basically the Navy's subsea surface temperature, boy, there's a mouthful, reading and monitoring buoys and satellites and everything were literally shut down. But before it, he said, we're seeing events taking place, and Stan gets kudos for this because he's the only one of, quote, the people that picked it up. Now, I was talking about Krakatoa at that time, and it was really making me nervous because Anak means son of Krakatoa. And if you understand in the world of the occult, and if you understand in the mythology and legends of so many different cultures around the world over so many millennia, they always associate exploding volcanoes with the release of devils, demons, and, believe it or not, dragons. Well, I guess they just didn't know that the Republican Congress was in session. The two-legged dragons, or if you deal with the Democrats, the she-devils, plural. So what we're watching right now is literally all hell, H-E-L-L, breaking loose, and that the equation goes like this. Volcanism produces extreme drought. It can also extreme temperature change, coupled with all the nations of the world using geoengineering weather modifications. See, it's not just us. The Russians have perfected it. The Chinese have probably boosted it. And just for the record, I think most people should be aware that China is going to do their version of CERN with, 7 times higher power? 7 times higher power. They just broke loose the other day. And by the way, I'm not going on a rabbit trail. Tonight's show is to cover everything I know that absolutely you need to know if God gives us the time. The thing that is absolutely perplexing is that, and I posted this question, and Doug, I only share this because it's been the goodness of God that has kept me on the radio. You asked me, and others have asked me. They've asked me, and I think, am I out of my mind to put up with what I put up with? And I've asked the Lord that. I said, God, why could I have not just done what I wanted to do and, just stay out of this? Because, no offense, Lord, it just doesn't seem to be making a difference. But now, after 25 years, I find out how many people were listening all those years, and now after 2.5 decades, they're starting to get it. But back to the chemtrails, geoengineering. There are over 200 patents assigned that are at least open to the public. By the way, Bill Clinton and his lovely bride, Hillzilla, Godzilla's twin sister, Hillzilla, in my opinion, was known for making all of even the secret patents available to the Chinese government for a fee. And ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about the Clinton Foundation, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. You're talking about numbers that most people can't equate to. And you're talking about numbers that absolutely, and I said it before, rape, pillage, and plunder, the United States has gone under. The joke was, and I think you knew this, that Clinton's had to return $250,000 worth of furniture and the stuff that belonged to the White House, historic pieces, or they were going to be charged. Well, obviously, when you're in that position of power, the mutually compromised cover up for one another. But it was Bill Clinton that gave the Chinese the Loral Satellite Corporation's top secret satellite information, which enabled the first, if you will, Chinese intercontinental ballistic missile. And when the defense the chief of defense for the Russians basically made a statement. He says, we will not allow any outside manufacturing in any of our weapons systems. He was really taking at a dig at the United States. Why would we allow China to produce critical components for our top secret, get it, weapons development programs? Well, it's simple. Because in any electronic device, microelectronic device, quantum device, you can always put a back door in. In essence, imagine this. If you can take over a Jeep and take over its simple system by hacking, what can you do with strategic nuclear warheads, hypersonic missiles, submarine launch control, and everything else? And for the record, we are absolutely watching the decimation of the U.S. military. Now, how does this all fit in with volcanism? Volcanoes can be set off by the same weapon systems that are being used. Sam Cohen, in his late dissertation when he was defense secretary, referred to it. Brzezinski referred to it. And, Doug, you know, one of the most surprising things to me, one of the books that was so far ahead of its time that people still don't get it, is Weather Wars and Unnatural Disasters. Because in that book, and I think when you and I first went on radio together, that's one of the things we covered, is the ability of the high technology and the advanced technology to generate earthquakes, okay? Obviously Tesla, someone took Nikola Tesla seriously, the Russians especially, and then we got on board later. They took the telegeodynamics, all of the things that basically Tesla, and by the way, Nikola Tesla was a spiritist, and for those of you that understand the Nazis, and please don't give me any of your blather, the definition that of advanced technology, even Dr. Werner von Braun and another gentleman scientist, who I can't think of his name right now, is stating it's not that we Germans were better in engineering than most, or that some attribute it to us. It is that we had help from the spirit world.